When Cyberpunk 2077 came out in 2020, I was not all that interested. As much as the concept interests me, I was not really looking for a first-person game. And honestly, it's probably a good thing I didn't order it, because this was a game that was basically unplayable. And by basically unplayable, I mean it actually was unplayable. This shit was ass. Dookie from a dog's butt. From crashes to bugs to literally not being what it was advertised in the slightest, I think that it's easy to say that Cyberpunk 2077 was the worst initial release for any video game ever. It's pretty easy to find out what went wrong here. They announced this game almost 10 years before release, promising more and more amazing features throughout the years. The success of Project Red's other games like Witcher 3 only made fans more excited to see what the developers could do with a futuristic setting, not to mention what they could just do with a completely original IP. I mean, look at this shit. They got fucking Keanu in this bitch. You know, he was getting cocked.
Getting cocked.
He was getting cocked.
Getting cocked.
And that's good for you. He was telling everybody that he loved them and that no, you're amazing or whatever the fuck. And everyone was digging it. Everyone likes Keanu Reeves and their video games.
Is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. Why do you come?
CD Red had fans in the palm of their hands, eating out of it like they were goddamn zoo animals. But I wasn't eating any of it. Sorry, Keanu Reeves, but I didn't want any cock.
You can become...
Mostly because I didn't really give a shit, but still. One could say I was the first skeptic.
You liar!
There was no way that CD Projekt Red could live up to the hype that they had built for all these years. And then, release day came. After numerous delays and an enormous amount of hype, the game is finally released. Now, some of the footage I am about to show you might cause some fear and anxiety, an excessive amount of vomiting. Viewer discretion is advised. So the game basically, it didn't work. It was far from what fans expected, unless you expected a game that doesn't work in the slightest, because then you got exactly what you wanted. So, congrats! It was a shit show. The only way to play it without completely destroying your home in an explosion was by having a high-powered graphics card on your PC. Let me remind you that graphics cards at the time were at an all-time high because people kept buying them to mine crypto, which... if you do that, I hope you get athlete's foot by sucking someone's toes of a person who has athlete's foot with a shirt on that says, "I have no friends." The game sucked, and people were rightfully mad. This was not the step forward into a new age of gaming. This was a spit in the face of everything that CD Projekt Red had built up to this point. Cyberpunk 2077 was marked as a failure, or so we thought. There are upsides and there are downsides to modern gaming. The downsides are the fact that we usually get unfinished games that are updated through the first couple months of release. The upsides are that when the game does suck major butthole upon release, they can actually fix the game instead of leaving it to the pit of despair it started in. So instead of giving up and calling it quits, CD Projekt Red went to work to make their game even slightly playable. I mean, they didn't really have a choice when you consider that they had shareholders to appease, and if those guys don't get their rocks off, then CD Projekt Red is already 6 feet under. Some of the analogies I make today probably don't make any sense. I'll be honest. That's stupid. I have a joke about eating my own shit here. I don't know if I wrote down that I should eat my own shit or that I am eating my own shit. Either way, I'm not eating shit. Anyway, CD Projekt Red, it had a really good skeleton of a game. The story was pretty decent. The idea of playing as V and creating your own story in this world and leaving your mark on certain NPCs was a brilliant idea. My favorite NPC is definitely Pan Am, and it's just because I think she's so cool, and it's such a beautiful love story that It's really great. And did you guys know you could shower with her? You can get in the shower with her, and I mean that has nothing to do with it, of course, but it's like it's a fully nude shower scene, and that's not that matters, but like she's such a great character. But just the thought that you can romance certain characters and do stuff with them both in a shower and also in a super dangerous tank. I mean, that's a cool feature. It's like playing The Sims, but in the real world, and everyone kind of looks like they want to hurt me. The world and the details of the world are incredible. It's been a long time since a completely original idea has grabbed me the way that Cyberpunk did. Because of the amount of choice that you do end up having, it does feel like you are V living in Night City. Sometimes people forget that the most important part of making a video game is immersion. I want to feel like I am living in the world that I'm playing in. Except for the world in Last of Us Part 2. That shit is brutal. She kills doggies in that. I don't want to kill doggies. There's so much to explore in Night City and everything that borders it. Not to mention that the game actually has a really cool fighting mechanics, and the gunplay can be pretty fun, depending on which weapons you get. I like that I can be a literal samurai with a katana in a futuristic setting. The aesthetic of that is so sick. In fact, the aesthetic of the entire game is just fantastic. The art design proves that from the beginning, CD Projekt Red knew what they wanted to do. They knew they wanted this game to be the most immersive and detailed futuristic aesthetic that anyone has ever seen in any video game. The problem was that they weren't actually given enough time to do any of that. They were rushed to the finish line, and what fans got on release day was a mangled version of what devs wanted to ship out. It's like having one side of your pancake be this beautiful golden brown crisp, and then you flip over the pancake and it's like, oh my god, what the fuck is that? Cyberpunk had a great and immersive world. The problem was that the game itself didn't work. You can't really explore this world when none of the vehicles actually work and the NPCs are clipping through the map. The house was built, but it had no electricity. Damn, my analogies today, what the fuck? Anyways, so what do? They go to work. With many updates and many fixes, CD Projekt Red did something that no one expected. They fixed the game. It really worked. A game that everyone had written off as a complete failure actually came back to life. It was a Frankenstein game that was brought back to life, but instead of looking really ugly and like a monster, it looked more like Henry Cavill, shirtless. And by that I mean it looked really hairy. The game was actually super hairy, guys. You gotta understand that it doesn't happen very often in gaming. Cyberpunk 2077 redeemed itself and now is one of the best games that I have ever played in recent memory. Along with its amazing DLC expansion, it really feels like CD Projekt Red knew what they wanted all along, but they felt pressured to push this thing out before it was fully realized. And now, after years of fixing the game, we finally get the fully realized Cyberpunk 2077 game that CD Projekt Red promised people all those years ago. Usually I would end it there, and that would be the video. I would tell you how amazing this game is and why I love it. But here is where I want to put a little PSA of why no other game company should ever try this ever. Do not release broken games. No one wants a game that does not work. Sure, you can get a Cyberpunk where, you fix the game and everyone ends up loving it, or you get like Suicide Kill the Justice League, or like the Avengers games, games that literally no one plays anymore, and I think they also might be delisted. Cyberpunk got the luckiest of second chances ever. It was able to do something that games usually aren't able to do. My point here is that if you release good games, people will play them. If you release bad games, do I even have to explain that? Like, really? This game ended up being amazing. A great story about a great character finding out what they really want to do with the rest of the time they have left on Earth. A dead game that wanted to do something to keep its life longer and give people something to hold on to. Cyberpunk 2077 did the impossible by coming back from the brink of death. But that doesn't mean that every game studio should do what CD Projekt Red did. Make the game good in the first place. Don't raise expectations to a high that you can't reach. Because I think for people to love a game, they need to be able to play that game. And if the game is unplayable, then what am I doing here? Storytelling in games have taken huge leaps in the past 20 years. There are games like Red Dead Redemption 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and God of War that offer rich narratives in such an interactive space. But when the game isn't even functioning to the point that my console can't run it and it has been taken off the online store completely, then it doesn't matter how narratively rich your story is on paper, because there's no way for me to interact with this. It's useless. Everyone likes a good comeback story, but nobody likes them come on their backs. What I'm trying to say is that Cyberpunk had a great comeback, and that's great. The game is awesome, and I love it. As of writing this, they have gone into pre-production on a second game, and I think that's super cool. But the lessons here with this story should not be make bad games that are unfinished, because I promise you that if Cyberpunk had come out the way it is now, it would have been just as exciting and talked about. But honestly, what do I know? All my job's to play the games, not make the games, okay? That's for the nerds to do. But it is my job to tell you that the video is over. So if you liked it, I hope you did. Wait. No, if you liked it, leave a like. I think that's what I was supposed to say. Drop a comment because I love hearing your beautiful voices on my computer. This video was in the works for quite a while, and I have been wanting to make it for quite a while. And I'm glad that my procrastination has finally, made its way through my intestines and out my shitter, so that I can give you this video. I don't know what time of year this is. I'm recording this in May, end of May. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Remember, guys, to stay safe, stay healthy, stay sexy. Okay, bye.
Reach this fuck, eat 'em up, eat 'em up, eat 'em up.